The studio lights dimmed slightly, the crowd still. The interview was meant to be casual, a reflective chat between Elon Musk and Jim Carrey on a popular late-night show. But what came next would leave the audience breathless and the world talking. You know what Jesus said to me in my darkest hour? Jim Carrey's voice sliced through the quiet like lightning. Elon Musk, seated across from him, visibly shifted in his chair. This wasn't where he expected the conversation to go. He said, Jim continued, Jim, you've been performing your whole life trying to earn love that was already yours from the moment I thought of you. The audience fell into a stunned silence. Cameras zoomed in to catch every flicker of emotion on both men's faces. Jim's eyes shimmered, voice cracking. Can you imagine that? He asked softly. All those years, doing stand-up, acting, pushing myself, trying to make people laugh so they'd love me. And all along, the love had been there. It had always been there. Even Elon, the stoic innovator, seemed rattled. I was sitting in my mansion at 3 a.m., Jim said, his voice a whisper now. I had everything, money, fame, success, but I felt like I was dying inside. That's when I heard him, not with my ears but in my heart. He paused. The studio was holding its breath. My beloved son, he said, you're trying so hard to become someone you already are. Elon's hands twitched slightly, his composure thinning. What did you do? He asked quietly. I broke, Jim said, eyes full of raw memory. I broke completely. I collapsed on the floor and cried like a child. Because for the first time in my life, someone was telling me I was loved. Not for what I did, but for who I was. Not Jim Carrey, the comedian, just Jim, the beloved child of God. The words hung heavy in the air. Something sacred was unfolding right in front of them. But how do you know it was real? Elon pressed, his voice tight with something between fear and longing. How do you know it wasn't just your mind comforting itself? Jim leaned forward, and for the first time that night, his voice ignited with fire. Because the love I felt in that moment wasn't like anything I'd ever known. It wasn't tied to my performance or my status. It was unconditional, infinite. It changed me, completely. Tears began to form in Elon's eyes. You want to know what Jesus showed me next? Jim asked, more strength now in his voice. He showed me that my entire career, every laugh I chased, every role I buried myself in, it all came from a wound. A deep, invisible wound that whispered, you're not enough as you are. Elon blinked hard. Jim wasn't talking to him. He was talking for him. I saw myself as a little boy, Jim said, trying so hard to get my dad's attention, my mom's approval, anyone's love. And I realized I'd never stopped being that little boy. Even at the top of the world, I was still that scared kid. But you're successful, Elon offered, almost pleading. You've made millions of people happy. Elon closed his eyes. The room hushed. The world, watching through screens, held its collective breath. Then he spoke. Jesus! The name came out like a whisper, but it echoed like thunder. I don't know if I'm doing this right. But Jim says you've been waiting for me. And I'm tired. His voice cracked with emotion. I'm tired of carrying everything alone. Tired of trying to save the world just to feel worthy. I've achieved things people only dream of, and I still feel empty. A tear fell unashamed. If you're really there, if you really love me the way Jim says you do, then I need that love. I need to know I matter for who I am, not just for what I build. More tears. More freedom. I don't understand all this. I may never understand it with my mind. But my heart, it's saying this is real. This is what I've been searching for my whole life. The room was completely silent. So I'm asking you, Jesus, take my life. Take my fears, my achievements, my failures, my pride, all of it. Show me who I really am. In you, teach me how to just be as your child. When Elon opened his eyes, something had changed. The frantic, tight, driven expression that had defined him for decades was gone. In its place, peace. How do you feel? Jim asked, voice barely a whisper. Elon paused, then said a word no one expected. Different, like, I've been holding my breath for 40 years, and I finally exhaled. The audience erupted, not in performance applause, but in celebration, the kind of response that only comes from witnessing something pure, something eternal. Jim's eyes filled with joy. What Jesus showed me, he said, turning toward the camera, is that this is just the beginning. Now Elon gets to learn what it means to live as a beloved son, not an anxious achiever. Elon smiled, almost boyishly. What does that even look like? Jim replied, it looks like waking up knowing you're loved before you answer an email, solve a problem, or build anything. It looks like failing without shame and succeeding without pride. It's freedom, Elon. Freedom to just be. For the first time all evening, Elon laughed. A light, unburdened laugh. So I can still build rockets. But not to prove anything. Exactly, Jim said. You create from joy, not fear. From fullness, not emptiness. The host, who had been respectfully silent the entire time, finally spoke. Elon, what's your message to people watching this right now? Elon turned to the camera. His eyes were clear. His voice was steady. My message is this. No matter how successful you are, no matter what you've achieved or failed at, there's a love waiting for you that will change everything. Not necessarily your circumstances, but your heart. And when that changes, everything starts to make sense. He paused. I came here tonight to talk about innovation and technology, but I discovered the greatest innovation isn't something we invent. It's what Jesus does inside a human heart when it finally says yes to his love. Jim reached over and squeezed his shoulder. Welcome to the family, brother. The studio lights dimmed as the show closed. No one moved. No one wanted to leave. That night, the interview would go viral. Millions would watch it. But those who were there, they would never forget what they witnessed. They saw something that algorithms can't replicate. Something that fame can't produce. Something science can't measure. They saw a man lay down the weight of the world and pick up the truth that had been chasing him his whole life. He was already loved. And now, he finally believed it.